Hello everybody, it's Friday. We made it to the end of a very busy, very hectic, very long term, and I'd like to finish off the term with an assembly. We've got some very special guests joining us for our assembly today, and I'd like to share a story with you in our assembly today, before I hand over to my special guests for a very special Christmas message for you all. Christmas is going to be different this year. I can't make that sound any nicer than it is. It is going to be different. We've not been able to celebrate Christmas in the usual ways this year. And we know the reason for that. What is positive is that we've had everybody back in school this week. The vaccine is here, developed by the wonderful scientists who have worked really hard during the last few months to put that vaccine together, and that's beginning to roll out across the country. Which is really positive. So the end of this very strange time is in sight. I've been reflecting over the course of the last few weeks about what Christmas means, what it's all about, what it means to me, why it's so special, and I come back to one of my favorite stories, and it's from my Dr. Seuss treasury of stories. Now, you are probably going to wonder why I've chosen to share this story with you today. I'm going to read the story of the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. And there's a very good reason why I'd like to do that, and I hope it becomes clear as we get towards the end of the story. So, every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas. The whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled, with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise. Oh, the noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he'd like least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. And they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? And then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and he clucked, what a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around. But since reindeers are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn to the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackled sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, get up, and the sleigh started down towards the home where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All the windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care when he came to the first little house on the square. This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a minute or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and he slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorns and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed them all in the bag, stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, cried the Grinch, I'll stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cold cup of water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. Why, my little sweet tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney, and he stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On the wall he left nothing but hooks and some wire, and the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to all other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for other Who's mouses. It was 1/4 past dawn, all the Who's still asleep, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Correction, Mr. Green, he got that wrong. It was 1/4 past dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings and trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tiptoe to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's! He was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes or bags. He puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 times that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself carved the roast feast. Can't see that because it's all blurry. The Grinch. And the Grinch can teach us a very, very valuable lesson about this Christmas. Christmas is going to be different this year. It's not going to be the same this year. We're not going to be able to see as many friends and family as we would usually see on Christmas. It kind of feels like Christmas has been stolen away from us a little bit. But remember that Christmas is still going to be wonderful. We're still going to be able to see all of our close family, the 3 households that we're allowed to spend Christmas with. And it's still going to be a wonderful, wonderful time to spend together with our loved ones. And if that's in person or if it's virtual, that's going to be really, really lovely. And remember, Christmas is in here. It's not about the gifts that you get and the presents that you get and comparing presents and all the other bits and bobs. It's about your love for your family and your friends at Christmas time. It's about being able to share that with folks that you care about. It's been a very tricky and difficult year, I think it's fair to say. And I want to thank you, boys and girls, for being utterly, utterly wonderful. Ever since this whole business kicked off, it kind of feels like the virus and COVID has stolen part of school, a bit like the Grinch was trying to steal Christmas. But it hasn't. School has been brilliant. It has been so lovely seeing you back in school and enjoying your learning and being with your friends. And I know that some of you are a bit worried about coming back to school in September, but I'm really, really pleased with how school has gone and how we've managed to work really hard and have lots of fun along the way. And a lot of that is down to your teachers who have been absolutely brilliant at everything. I've asked your teachers to do loads and loads of new stuff this year, including learning how to use Google Classroom and providing all of your remote learning. And some of your teachers have had to move classrooms, and I've asked them to do loads and loads of stuff, and they have been utterly, utterly brilliant. So colleagues, I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for me, but also for the children in your class. I'm going to hand over now to our very, very special guests who have got just a few minutes and a few very, very important messages for you all. So, special guests, it's over to you.
Hi everyone, it's Lewis here. I wanted to send a message of positivity and of love to you all. I know for the teachers and for all the kids and students that are at school, I know it's been the hardest year for you all. But thank you so much for sticking at it, for staying positive. To the teachers, you are the leaders and you really make a huge difference in every single kid's that you work with life and future. So thank you for staying positive and continuing to do what you do, and for empowering the young students. Please continue to do so. I hope that as this year closes to an end, I hope that you're still staying positive, and I hope that 2021 is a much, much better year for you all. But until then, sending you love and thanks, and yeah, take care.
Hi everyone, just want to say hello and thank you from my side to our local schools, and thank you for the support. I know it's been a tough year for everyone, and especially for young people, you know, missing time with friends, hobbies, all these kind of things. So I think really the teachers at the schools, they have done a great job, at least to, you know, try and keep the schools open and give the support. So I think that's been a really important part of the special circumstances this year. So I think you've done a great job on adapting to the situation, like we've had to do in F1 as well. It's been a really special year, but even though we still had great success within the team and we've been able to make history. But for now, I wish you all a very nice holidays. Hope you get to do things that you want to do and spend time with your loved ones and the most important people. And please stay safe, stay healthy, and keep pushing. I'm sure more normal times are on the way.
Hi, this is just a short message to say thank you for your support to all the teachers, all the parents and students at various schools. Some of you may know somebody that works at Mercedes, or your parents work indeed for the team, but everybody else in schools had a tough year in 2020. We all suffered from the COVID time, but I think the ones hit the worst were you guys, the students. Rather than having a normal year and normal school days, you weren't allowed to meet your friends, you weren't allowed to go to parties or clubs. And I can certainly say from my two children that are teenagers, it was much worse than what we had when we were that age. But I also want to say thank you to the teachers who tried to keep the school routine alive, who were part of bringing the students back to school, because I think the rhythm is so important. And so just saying thank you, and next year is going to be better, and I wish all of you a happy holiday season.
Wow, boys and girls, how about that? Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, and Toto Wolff with a very, very special message for all you folks. Amazing. Valtteri, Lewis, and Toto, thank you so much for that. All that is left for me to say, boys and girls, and all my colleagues, is have a very, very Merry Christmas. Enjoy some time off, enjoy some downtime, have a rest, stay safe, follow the rules, and we will see you all again in January. Boys and girls, Merry Christmas.